le congreso. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Precipice of Delusion. I'm your host, Julian, and it is just another beautiful Monday. Summertime cruising, my friends. It is happening. Man, doesn't it just make you happy when the vitamin D hits you? Yeah, I know. You getting tan? Huh? How's that summer bod looking? You been working out? How's that six-pack going? How's those muffin tops looking? How's that double chin feeling? I know mine's feeling fresh as fuck. Yeah, hope you're feeling good. Hope you're enjoying the summer so far, and yeah, just having a good time. I am very excited for you to hear this podcast because it's with one of my close friends, Tommy Cantillon. If you don't know, is the lead of the band Tommy and the High Pilots. Yeah, also beta play, and has been in a bunch of other bands in the past, and is just a legend of a human being. Incredible singer. We made a movie together during the pandemic with Teddy Swims and Alan Stone. It was called the Valentine's Day Special. It was like a Valentine's Day fun, kind of like washed up boy band throwback reunion tour where we all played this boy band called Round and Third. It was pretty hilarious, and it's actually on my Patreon page. So if you want to go check that out, you can see it there. Yeah, it's Tommy, Teddy Swims, Alan Stone, and myself as this quartet of this like just idiotic boy band who like totally had their like washout in the 90s and like didn't really ever get famous, but then came back and just are like all super arrogant and shitheads and full of themselves. And Tommy's name is JP Crescendo. Teddy's Luther Braxton. I'm Chase Models, and Alan plays himself like a real asshole. But it's very fun, very funny, and obviously the singing in it is like top of the world, high class singing going on in that film. So yeah, check it out. It's on my Patreon page, patreon.com/The Precipice of Delusion. You can check out all the exclusive content there. That's really what's here to support this podcast, guys. I'm making a move here pretty soon, and I'm going to try to build out the studio and get some new gear and some new audio equipment so that this thing sounds and looks fresh for you. But yeah, having a blast. And I'm very grateful to introduce you guys to Tommy because he's just got a really wonderful story about like just staying with it and not giving up at all costs, and just kind of keeping his nose to the grindstone throughout it all. He's toured every single nook and cranny of this country, and has put himself out to make it happen, and has some really cool stories to tell along the way. So I hope you tune in, and I hope you enjoy my friend Tommy Cantillon because he makes me happy. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. I love you so much. Enjoy the episode. God damn, dude.
You did it.
You did it. What a track.
We figured it out.
Well, see you later.
With all the dev. I mean, I felt like we talked about it on our FaceTime.
Gotta call it a day now.
All right.
We just talked for 45 minutes trying to troubleshoot this damn thing.
But that's good.
Good thing we're both tech geniuses.
All the stuff we can't say on the pod, we got out of the way.
Yeah, all of our personal problems and all of our insecurities. So my God, Tommy Cantillon, dude. Welcome to the pod. Thank you so much for being here, dude.
Wow. Last time I was with you, you had a British accent.
Oh, yeah. I was being Chase Models, and you were being a little JP Crescends, dude.
Yeah, dude.
Nice.
Rushed.
That was so much fun, man.
That was fun. And got to meet Teddy.
That's true. Have you seen him since?
We text a lot. He's really good. He's really good.
He loves you, dude.
He's so good about responding to text.
He is incredible. I don't even understand how he does that. It seems like being at that level and getting like that much Like
He's on a whirl. It's
that.
like whirlwind right now. He's like
Yeah.
riding
But
such a high.
it's been that. Like when we
Yeah,
met him, he was like in that same space, and it's just only
yeah,
gotten
yeah.
crazier.
We did this.
Um,
We did an event with Benson Boone, who
oh,
had like
cool.
him and Teddy were kind of number one song, number two song for a
Oh,
little
cool.
bit. And so, I went up to Benson and I was like, "Hey, do you know Teddy?" He's like, "Oh my god!" So I sent Teddy a video of me and Benson, and Teddy sent us a video back. I mean, like my phone dinged 30 seconds later. I
That's
don't. Teddy's
amazing.
backstage in Germany somewhere. Like I don't even know where he is in the world, and
Yeah,
he's just the best dude. And
it's so cool, man. He's
I
such a
update him on
sweetheart.
Ada and the girls, and calls himself their stepmama. So
It's
yeah,
definitely like aspirational, to like be at that level and to be that gracious and generous and kind and like
yeah.
willing to like take a step away.
Those are the people it should happen to.
Yeah, that's
You
what I
know,
feel like, man.
and that's
But
what
it, but but
Benson Boone was
but
like.
Benson
So
Boone said what?
he was like that. He just like,
Really?
especially doing the tour stuff that we do, the High School Nation touring festival that we do. You
Uh
come
huh.
across artists that are, you know, I don't know, rude, or they think they need to put on a shield and not be cool to everyone and be intentionally a dick or whatever. And Benson reminded me of like Benson. These shows are private, right? They're at high schools in the middle of the day. We take over campus, and all 2,000, 3,000, however many students are there, get to come out and partake in the event. The headliner is usually someone they know. This time it happened to be Benson. And so, because we're in a neighborhood in a public school, there's like people at the fence that can hear him that are just standing at the fence. So Benson gets done, goes to the fence, climbs the fence, takes pictures with everyone, signs stuff. I'm like, this kid is awesome. Like, so
Do you think
sweet.
that lasts?
Right?
Like, do you think people like keep that going with them? Do you know anybody that's like 65 that's still just like out there doing that? That's been famous as fuck for that long,
I don't know Dave Grohl personally,
but
but
he still is
that's
just
probably a
rad like
good,
that.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably a good one. Um, I don't know Bruce Springsteen personally, but
Do you
he,
think Bruce is out there like just being rad to his fans all the time?
I read everything about him. I
Uh-huh.
like he'll be at the grocery store, right? He does his own shopping. He takes like a cooler of beers to the beach and sits there, and he's like,
Cool.
people come up to him, and I think his line is like, I generally like people until they give me a reason not to, and so if they want to talk with me, I'll talk with them. All good,
Yeah.
right? He's not hiding. I don't know. It's being that. Who knows what it's like being that famous? Like that's
I can't imagine, man.
you
Seems
know,
crazy.
yeah,
Yeah, but and it's what's also crazy is that like it's not. I look at huge stars like that, and then people that celebrate their kindness, and it's just like, why are we celebrating? Like, yes, great, I'm happy that they're nice people, but like that should just be a standard.
yeah.
It shouldn't be like, oh my god, I heard Hugh Jackman was so gracious. He took his lunch and cleaned off his paper plate after craft service lunch at on set. It's like cool. He should like why is that
Shouldn't be out of
something?
the ordinary.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like we
I would say
praise
that about
people.
all the things you hear about Keanu Reeves
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like that. My favorite
He's such
pictures
a
of
regular
him.
guy.
My favorite picture of him is he's like on. I don't know if he's on Sunset at some point, Sunset Boulevard, and there's this homeless dude outside of a liquor store, and Keanu goes in and buys a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of whiskey, and it's just laying on the concrete with the guy, just smoking butts and
Yes,
drinking with him in the middle of the day.
so
And
good.
all those Keanu stories you hear, like
Yeah,
someone said, "Who's your favorite actor?" I would say, like, who's my favorite person who acts, or who do
yeah.
I think the best actor is? But like my favorite person who acts, all the Keanu Reeves stories are so cool. Like
It's
probably Keanu
Keanu.
Reeves, and it's not like
Yeah,
he's always kind of the same dude in movies. He's not a method
right,
actor. He's not De Niro or whatever.
right, right.
I would say I'd like to
Yeah,
hang out. I'd like to hang out with him.
yeah.
You
Same.
know?
It is cool to see big, huge stars doing like civilian shit. I was
Yeah,
uh I was on the subway once, and uh I was going to acting school at the time, and I was like emotionally prepping for my class. So I was like learning how to like generate like heavy emotions and cry like on command. It was exercise for acting. And so I spent like months just like practicing everywhere, just like walking to the subway, being in the subway, doing all this shit. And I would just be like, I had many people come up to me and like check in on me. Like, hey man, are you okay? And be like, oh yeah, I'm just doing an acting exercise.
Yeah.
Like,
On
dude,
my way to an audition. Yeah.
get out of here. It's not that weird for being in New York, but this one time I was on the subway and I was just bawling hard, and I get a pat on my back in this like British accent. It's just like that, it's gonna be okay. And like I look up, and from behind me, it's Sir Patrick Stewart, and he just has like a little like Yankee boy hat on, and he's just like turns
Yeah.
around and like winks at me and just walks off the subway. I was just like, and I
Awesome.
only knew it was him because there was a girl sitting across from me that had her phone like just like holding it up against her chest, like filming him the
Professor
whole
X is
time.
on Professor X
She's
is on
just
the
like,
train.
yeah, exactly. She's like,
Yeah.
he was amazing. But we're not here to talk about Patrick Stewart or Teddy Swims or any of these stars, baby. We're here to
Why
talk
not?
about Tommy Cantillon,
Why not?
dude. I yeah, I'm so glad you're here, man. So honored that you took some time to come and hang with me on the pod. I thought you'd be a really cool guest because I know some of your story, and I know that you spent so much time doing like guerrilla musicianship, like just fucking grinding
Mm.
hard with no real like financial backing and just like pounding the pavement. And I thought that you would be a really cool person to talk to because I think there's a lot of people out there that like don't expect that to be a part of their process, a part of their journey, or maybe they like expect to do like a little bit of that and then kind of just like don't expect that it's going to continue to happen, and like kind of like have these delusions of grandeur, think that like, okay, it's going to all like hit at some point and it's going to take off. And like you have been such like an incredible model for like sticking with your craft through the whole entire journey, like since you were very young all the way through, and you have always like seemingly managed this very like lovely and joyful uh like sense of gratitude around the whole thing, because it seems like you just kind of love doing it no matter what the circumstances are. um is that true? Has that always been the case?
That's the kicker is the love doing it.
Yeah.
If I didn't, I wouldn't. you
Right.
know,
Right.
uh,
Right.
whether I'm in a pub, I just started playing kind of regularly at this little pub in Ojai, and got to sort of like workshop a bunch of new songs. And I think it had been a while since I played out, even like that, even just kind of sitting in a corner at a pub. And uh, if that was all I did, I think if I was younger, I think when I was younger, I didn't want to be the 60-year-old guy sitting in the corner of a pub, like singing my songs mixed in with Tom Petty songs or whatever.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm.
but any sort of version of it now, I just want to do it because I love doing it. And you make some tips, and I'll go, get to throw some money in the bank, like whatever it is. But to go back a little bit, yeah, I did. I was young, like I pretty much got on the road when I was.
You started singing like you knew you were a singer very, very young.
I was really young when I started singing and like was in
Cool.
choirs and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But then as far as touring goes and doing that grunt work and the just DIY on the road, early 2000s, first time I toured really was gone for 3.5 months for the first time. I was 16.
Wow.
It was the summer between my junior and senior year. And we had done some traveling gigs before that. But as far as like gone on end, and I was like, this is what I want to do. This is it. Um,
How did you even know like how to do that?
my oldest brother at the time had gone to college in San Francisco, and he had a buddy, and they opened up like an art gallery. And my brother went to the Academy of Arts, which was like for film
Uh-huh.
stuff. And
Yeah.
so there wasn't really a background in music or anything. But when I joined this band at my high school, within a few months, he came down and hung out. He was in town and watched us rehearse in my parents' garage and just said, like, what if I manage you guys, or what if I book you guys? Like, what if we do that? And everyone was sure. Like they had been a band for maybe a year or two. and just playing the living room, which was this venue in little gigs in Santa Barbara. And it was just, okay, yeah, we all want to do this. So Jimmy, the first tour was, and Steve did this as the High Pilots' first tour. We kind of mirrored it because it was a good blueprint for an unknown band. We went basically between San Diego and Seattle for 3.5 months, playing every county fair. Every county fair.
For
So the thing,
they had that many, like just
yeah.
up
Oh,
and down
dude,
the West Coast.
the Central California, there are so many county fairs. And the
What
thing with
is
the, thing with the county fairs
That's amazing.
at that age, 16, 17, every 16 and 17-year-old is at the county fair. So if we had a
Oh, for
decent
sure.
slot, I mean, dude, there were nights. I mean, this is our first tour. There were nights where we would sell hundreds of CDs, right? This is 03, 2003. People still buy CDs. So
To
we were
people who
like,
didn't know you at all, nobody like was
no,
coming
they
to
were
see
just
you.
seeing
They
us,
just were
just seeing
there.
us for the first time.
Yeah.
What happened was we did, Jimmy's, my oldest brother, he said, why don't we go and play all the high schools in Santa Barbara? Right. And then when you play at the living room or the coach house or whatever it is, maybe more people come. Really simple promoting idea, but we just wanted to play music. So we did that, played like Santa Barbara High, Dos Pueblos High, our high school. And then we did the Santa Barbara County Fair at like a prime slot. And 800 people were at the stage.
Wow.
So then it was, why don't we go to all these county fairs, try
Yeah.
to get a good slot? Some slots were not great. Some fairs were not great. Some stages didn't exist. And
What
we
was
were in
going on
some
at some of
Spinal
these
Tap.
fairs, dude? Were you guys just becoming carnies?
I mean, dude, corn dogs. I can't tell you how many corn dogs we had. Anyway, so that
Yeah.
whole first tour was like that. But we had to keep reordering T-shirts and CDs because
Oh,
we would go.
wow.
At that air, we would open with like a Jimmy Eat World song, and then that would bring up all the kids like, oh, who's this? And then we tell our story. That's our van. We operate like this. This is how we make gas money selling CDs. People's parents were putting us up. Come shower at my house. Come do your laundry. Come. So for me, like just meeting awesome people that exist everywhere, it just kind of settled it for me. Like I could do this forever. I'll live in a
Had you
van
ever
forever.
had you ever felt that kind of like validation before for anything that you had done previous to doing it? Or was this like the first time you were like, oh shit, I'm good at this and like were you like instantly addicted to wanting to pursue it continuously?
Yeah, wanting to pursue it continuously. Yes, I don't know if I put it in terms of like, oh, we're good. Um,
You didn't know. It wasn't clear from having like 800 people be like, dope, dude, this is fucking sweet. Like
just fun,
that
and I
sounds
think
undeniable to me.
just fun. So just
Yeah.
this is fun. I want to be on stage. I want to play. I want to sing songs that I wrote. I want to do it with these guys. I want to do it with my brother helping us because it's working, and we're doing it without a label. And for the next, 3 or 4 years, then we moved. Then we went to this whole high school idea spawned, and we traveled. The longest tour we ever did was about 8 months.
Dude, that's a
And the
long
idea,
time.
this was Jimmy's idea was, let's go. If we're going to win over teenagers who are your peers right now, let's go. I'll call the school, say we have free entertainment at lunch. You don't have to pay anything. Let them sell their CDs. They don't cuss, whatever the selling point was. I don't know what the selling point was.
Good old
Uh,
boys.
so we go into the quad at lunch. We play. We would go to one city for a week, and we would hit 5 high schools. And then before we get to town that week, we call a promoter at the venue, right? Hey, let us be the first of 5 bands. We're going to bring people, we promise. They'd never heard of Holden. Okay, so that Jimmy would just call and call and call. So we'd get a gig for the Friday night or Saturday night, and the whole week leading up to it, we would play 5 different high schools, and we'd show up
Where? Like in like their like dance
every,
or something like that? Like what was it
every
for?
what like at the end of the week. No,
Yeah,
we'd go
like
to
what in like what I don't remember like bands playing at high school in high school. Like when did you guys play? Like for like an assembly or something or what?
no, we would just play at lunch. Some schools randomly would have us
Lunch.
do an assembly. We would just show up at lunch and play for 30 minutes, sell our CDs, and say, "Hey, Friday night we're playing at the Pickle Room, or like the all ages venue.
And you
We're up
guys
for."
weren't you in high school still?
I toured a little bit while I was in high school, but all the guys were a year older than me. So
Okay.
I did some packets of work on the road. I got an independent study thing that I wound up doing. Um,
Wow.
but so basically, we then show up at the venue, and that's whatever city it was, Friday, Saturday night, and the promoter would say, "Why did 80 people come to see you guys? I've never heard of you." And then we would say like, "Oh, we went and played all the high schools. So how'd you do that?" We just called and asked if we could come play at lunch, you know? So
That's so like charming and sweet.
it was that was the Holden thing, dude. We worked really hard. And in between shows, so we'd say we'd leave a high school, we'd go to the mall. There were four of us in the band. We'd split up into twos. We'd have a disc man because no one had iPods yet. And we'd walk
Right.
around with headphones, a backpack full of CDs, and just stop kids at like Hot Topic or
Dude.
Abercrombie, or just we would just stop young teenage girls and just say like, "Do you guys like rock music? Do you want to? Can we show you a song?" We called it 10 a day. We had to sell 10. We couldn't leave them all until we sold 10 CDs. And most days we
Wow.
did it. There were days we sold 100 CDs at the mall if security didn't catch us. There were days,
I mean, look, dude, that's a testament to like your charm and your like
well,
tenacity and like
the
cuteness too. You're a cute young boy as well, for
well,
sure, dude.
our guitar player was even
Awesome
better looking
choice.
than I was. But this was
Damn,
Jimmy.
dude.
Jimmy, these were a lot of Jimmy's ideas. And and we talked to dude, Jimmy and I talked about this the other day. Like we were 2 years either late or early because there was
Mm,
no social media. Had we done this first 2-3 years of Holden, had we been handing out our Instagram or even our Facebook didn't exist yet. MySpace took about, I don't think MySpace started till about 2 years into the band, and we didn't know what it was. So then we didn't get on it for like another year. And the story may have been different. Something may have happened. Who knows? Doesn't really matter. But we definitely busted our asses. The music continued to develop because we were teenagers. We were playing sort of pop punk, the stuff that we liked at the time, and then it evolved. Some weed got involved, and
uh-oh.
discovering Led Zeppelin,
Dark
like
years.
all that stuff. So the fourth and fifth album were very different, and we went down to a three piece. Um, and at that point, maybe there was some high school stuff, but then we were doing pretty well, selling a lot of tickets in the Bay Area, selling tickets, obviously in our hometown of Santa Barbara, selling out every show we'd play there. Um, LA was good to us. Basically, anywhere from San Diego to certain places in Oregon and Washington, we would go and play a regular venue, a regular show, and have a decent crowd, and people were singing the songs, and then just we were so young, it just kind
Yeah.
of ended. One day there was a lot more. Um, your emotions run high, and you're married to a couple people in the band. You're all doing this together, and
Right.
we'd
I mean,
actually.
look, it's important to keep in mind, like, your older brother Jimmy is managing you, and then Mikey, your younger brother, is playing in the band
No,
with you. Just
Mikey wasn't in
he
this
wasn't
band.
in Holden.
No, I'm
Okay,
really
cool.
young at this point. Yeah.
Who's in this band at this point? Let's shout him out.
So it was me. Paul Murray had started this
Paul
band called
Murray.
Livewire, and then
Okay,
Johnny Paloa was in it, and then this drummer TJ, but then Dan, who became the drummer for Holden. Um, so they were Livewire. Steve was the bassist, Steve
so
Libby.
Steve's always been around. Stevie Baby,
It's
Stevie Baby, Libby. What a guy.
Galita scene.
Shout out.
At that point, Steve and Dan, the bassist and drummer, were like in 5 bands. That was just
Wow.
part of it. I wasn't even like I wasn't writing songs yet. I wasn't in the band thing. It took me, I think, my early into my sophomore year. What happened was Paul, who had started Livewire, he and I don't remember if we had a class. I don't even remember how Paul and I became friends, but we were inseparable. And I was learning guitar. I had decided like I want to play guitar. I'm gonna write songs. This is what I'm gonna do on my own. I didn't have a band or anything like that. And Paul just said, "Do you want to come play bass in Livewire?" And I said, "Yeah, okay." So I sat one night with my acoustic guitar, learning just learning the songs. And then I played bass for 5 years after that. As far
Whoa.
as with Holden, I've done bass in other projects. I toured with Ludo on bass. I've done some stuff with the Plain White Tees on bass. I love the bass, but I was, a songwriter and a singer and a guitar, like not a lead guitarist or anything like that, but that was my instrument.
Yeah, but
Um,
you're the lead of the band always,
what's that?
right? You got to be the lead of the band. Maybe you're not
Yeah,
the
I mean,
bassist.
Yeah, I like
You
to
have to
sing. I mean,
lead too.
Sting is a bassist. Paul McCartney's a bassist. They do exist,
Nice.
but um,
Right, right, right.
Holden probably just kind of imploded under the weight, just under our age, under you know.
What were the years that lasted? What was the timeline?
Holden lasted for 5 years. The last 2 years we went down to a three piece, and then the last 6 months or so we had stopped working with Jimmy, stopped working with my brother Jimmy, which was really hard. Um, but that was kind of the way the guys wanted to go, and I didn't want to stop,
Right.
what we had
That
working on, what
momentum.
we had
Right.
built. And like almost without Jimmy, and just we had girlfriends. People wanted to move in with girlfriends. People wanted to go away to college, rightfully so. That like that's life, and I didn't want that.
Mhm.
So so um, went out to New York. Band broke up. We were all crushed. I'm sure the guys were crushed too. This is just my story. I was crushed. It sucked.
Yeah.
Um, and however it happened, I don't like. I, I don't think it was any one of us. Johnny and I were really kind of running the thing at that point. Dan's tremendous drummer, tremendous band member. He was more, like whatever you guys want. Dan was very like, amicable and peaceful, and Johnny and I were stronger personalities, and we had, you know, started writing together a few years into Holden. There was a big sonic shift. He and I wrote a bunch of songs together, and then kind of kept the thing going for a bit as a three piece. And then he wanted different things, and I wanted different things. It's like a relationship ending. Luckily, the friendship didn't end. I'm in a golf tournament with him in a couple weeks, but
Oh, cool.
I love
It's
Johnny.
crazy. It's crazy. Like what you don't real. Maybe you do. I don't know. Like trying to manage the personality dynamics in a band, especially when you're young and you're like not making a ton of money. And probably when you make a ton of money, it actually makes it harder.
Probably harder.
Like
Yeah,
at every level. I'm
yeah.
sure like it's very common that bands and musicians separate and split up. Like to see people go on for decades and decades, it's like kind of a miracle, right? To ever
You
see people that like stay together that long.
think about the Chili Peppers or U2 or Radiohead. And actually, what's funny about all those bands, the one thing they have in common is they split everything four ways. Um,
Wow.
so the song, there might be, Bono might be writing all the songs with The Edge. Larry and Adam still get 25%. Chili Peppers, right? Anthony Kiedis might sit there and write a song by himself, but he's not saying, I want 100% of the money because I wrote this song.
Yeah.
Even keel, Dave Grohl creates all that shit, drummed on a lot of stuff on his own albums, splits publishing entire, everyone gets an equal piece. It probably really, that probably helps, right? No one's above anyone else. And then again, as a songwriter too, you're like, for me right now, I've spent my whole life writing music since I was 15, but the last 4 years, starting with the lockdown, all I've done is write, 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 write. So it would be a little tougher, right, to bring these songs to a band and say, hey, let's all split the money for this. It's like for the last 4 years, I've been working on this art that I want to do something with, and I don't know. Everyone's different, but I'm kind of getting off topic.
No, dude, not at all, man. I asked just about like just personality dynamics and how hard that must be to manage. But it is crazy, man, like how uh like you really did like just grassroots this whole thing. You're like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know how we like get fans. There's no
Yeah,
social media. There's no like this. We're just gonna go to the mall. We're gonna go to high schools. We're gonna do this. Like, it's really a testament to like figure it out. Like, if you want to do this, just start doing it. Like it,
yeah,
you hear that all the time as like a filmmaker. People are like, just take your iPhone and
take
start
your
shooting
iPhone.
movies. It's like, yeah, shut up, dude. Like, use your stuff. But it's just like, I mean, look, if you don't have any other resources and you're not doing anything else, you don't have any other excuse. Just go make it happen. You don't
Yeah,
need to be like on Hot Billboard 100 right now. Like, just
yeah,
go make music if you want to make music. Go make a movie if you want to make a movie. Just go do it. And
yeah,
you did. And it
yeah.
started to work.
Yeah, I was starting to work with Holden, and then Holden disbanded, broke up, and so I spent a full baseball season in New York, because the way it worked was my friend owned a bar. I'd become buddies with this family and this guy that had moved to Santa Barbara, who owns a bar at Yankee Stadium, and he'd helped Holden out with like merch orders. He was, very generous and gracious, and So what do you guys need? Do you need a couple grand to order something like On Me? I love the band. His son Julian was like only 3 or 4 at the time, and we'd come over and play music with him and let him sit on the drum kit at our shows. So just Lou to this day is one of my best friends, one of my closest people. Um, and So he said when the band broke up, it was, why don't you come spend the baseball season at my bar? It's only open when the Yankees are in town because there's no other reason to be in the South Bronx if the stadium's not open.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
20 years old, and I just said, yeah, let me do that. I love baseball. I trust you. I want to go out and, take in, like, I'd been to New York. I'd played shows in New York, but I had never lived somewhere else like that.
Mm-hmm.
So then I'm thrust into this world of all these firefighters from Staten Island or the Bronx who run this bar. And I'm the shaggy haired, skinny California kid who's a singer, like
Yeah.
so out of place. And then they break your balls for about 2 weeks, and then you're family and no one can hurt you. You know, there was some, especially back then, there were some dicey nights where, there may have been someone at the bar who
For
saw
sure.
me and wanted to fight me just because
Right.
who's this kid? Like, what,
Yeah.
not
Looked
anyone
like you.
not anyone I worked with, just
Yeah, of
patrons.
course. Yeah.
Um, and one of my managers jumped over the bar and grabbed this kid as he was like in mid swing to punch me. And I was like, oh. Anyways, so I'm out there. I have my acoustic. Lauren and I actually did break up. My now wife, who, we've been together
Yeah.
basically 20 years. There were some moments. So I think it was about 2 weeks in, we broke up. Then I wrote this song called Anytime Now. It's the first song I wrote when I got to New York. Anytime Now, we just released the other day as the High Pilots, right under the old
How
band name.
cool.
That song got the most traction. It's cool to see it out there. The next day I wrote Where to Start, which became sort of like the pivotal High Pilots anthem to our fans anyways. And it was on MTVU for a bit in rotation. So there was this like flood of, that sounds so cheesy, like genuine inspiration, right?
He's awesome, dude.
I had a songbook. The actual one I brought out with me is somewhere in these bookshelves. This is my Dodger wall, and the other one's
Cool,
all
man.
books.
Ah,
But
so awesome.
just got all these songs, and I knew that I wasn't done with music. This was a temporary thing for me, right? All these guys have worked at the bar since they're teenagers. They're going to be there forever. They're amazing. They're also firefighters. But for me, it was this year of my life where I was going to take this in. I was going to bust my ass because I was a bar back, and you don't get a second off there.
Right.
But taking in that world, and then Lauren and I breaking up and experiencing, walking around New York by myself with my headphones in, going into museums and smoking weed, and then walking around the financial district or whatever. Just so many songs. It was just boom, boom, song, 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 song. Like there were all these songs. The season ended. My brother Joey, who I stayed with a lot when I was out there, his friend opened a bar in Williamsburg. I think it was Williamsburg. She said, "Hey, does Tommy want a job? I know he just worked a season at Stan's. Like, I'll give him a job at my bar." So I had this offer to kind of a loose offer to stay, and Joey would have let me stay. A cool apartment in Bushwick. But I had all these songs, and I didn't really want to I didn't know what to do if that meant I was staying in New York. Like, how do I meet musicians? Am I going to go around and play acoustic? So I came back to Santa Barbara. Steve was the first person I talked to, whose job I had taken in Livewire, which then became Holden.
Crazy.
And then Aaron Ray was the drummer. He's a friend of Mikey's, or my little brother. So we were this 3-piece for a bit. At some point, we were a cover band. We eased into original music. We had this cover band called Mr. Handsome, and we played a bunch of shows around Santa Barbara. And Michael came down. He was in college in San Francisco. Michael came down, and my brother, came down to do some cover gig with us or something. And I think I started playing Come Alive or Round and Round, one of the songs off the first High Pilot albums that I'd written out there in New York. And I said, "Hey, Steve, do you want to start a band? Like, do you want to be in a band?" And he said, "Yeah." And Mikey goes, "Oh shit, I think I'm watching History." And
Oh, cool, man.
about a month later, Mikey officially moved back, left college. I'm sorry, Mike, that he did that. But then 10 years, let's see, we were the High Pilots, Tommy and the High Pilots for 08 or 09. Michael always knows, he corrects me every time. To 2014. Then we became Beta Play. We did a band name. It was kind of like rebranding. We'd been hanging around as the High Pilots. Virtually like every record label had seen us and passed. And So it was kind of a move to like, oh, let's start fresh. I kind of wish we hadn't changed the band name, but we did beta play for another 5 years. So that band was together for
Yeah.
10 years in some form. First High
Yeah.
Pilots tour, country fairs, did the whole thing over again.
Yeah. You just took the same model, huh?
Yep. And then,
Wow.
but then at that point, through Holden, through my years of touring with Holden, I had met Ludo. We had met some bands, and now that I'd started the High Pilots, there were people willing to help or put us on shows or bring us on tour. So Steve and I spent, it was our money. We spent it to make the first High Pilots album. Um, then we started working, I want to say within a year or two, the drummer for Ludo, Matt, moved out here. We had always been huge fans of each other. His drumming is just phenomenal. Just a crazy drummer, great part writer, great feel. He joined the High Pilots. His first show with us was at a county fair. It was like a one-off. I don't think we were touring. We just happened to be in Vacaville near Sacramento or something. And so those gigs they're not bad. They pay well. And there's
Yeah, no, I know. It just probably like after doing enough of them, probably just makes you like just turn into a county fair person.
it's
Like
funny
you
to
just become a carny.
what's funny is to some of them you'll see the same employees. They have their booth, at 10 of the
All
fairs. So
right.
by like, the sixth or seventh time, they're like, hey, come do the bungee jump again. It's on me this time. Or like, hey, that's the band, honey. Give them the corn dogs. Um,
Nice, dude. Getting hookups on some funnel cakes, dude.
yes, yes. Um, all of the above. But we had, Tim from the Plain White Tees has been really good to us. They brought us out a bunch. He and I have written some music together now. Um, yeah, it's just really cool for me to think about the journey, right? Like
Yeah,
the
man.
hero with 1,000 faces. Everyone has to have like mentors along the way and turning points and things like that. So it hasn't transpired to like my only source of income or some big album or some big song or some moment. But
Yeah,
I still love doing it. So I always write songs, and I'll
yeah. It's
always go out
beautiful,
and play
man.
shows, like
But
whatever that looks like.
you've also like afforded yourself the life experience of having like traveled to like every single small little town across the whole entire country and
Yeah,
like seeing like these little pockets of
yeah,
everything and
yeah,
like been able to experience it by like bringing your gift to that space
mm,
and like that currency is way more valuable than like the monetary currency that you can get from like selling out arenas or whatever. Like that life experience is huge, man, and
yeah,
has without question informed who you have become and like
yeah,
helped
yeah.
you kind of like cultivate the your personality and just like your love for the thing that you do. I imagine like what
Absolutely.
was that teaching you as you were like going across the country and like playing like and what kept you kind of like because I can't imagine you weren't not just fucking wasted exhausted the entire time. Like I know that you like touring life even when it's nice sucks. Like
Yeah,
even when you
yeah,
like have a tour bus and you're like getting taken care of and you got like riders and stuff, it is still a grind. So like what was like your actual like in the densest moment of your touring life, like what did that look like for you guys? How many guys were you with? What were you driving in? Like what was your sleep schedule? What were you eating? What the fuck did that how long did you do it? And then like what made you want to keep doing it after it?
So again, the longest time I was out on end, I think we flew home for Christmas for a couple weeks, but basically we were gone from September to Easter Sunday. We had to drive back from Baltimore because our school bus that we had decked out, my now father-in-law put in bunk
Wow.
beds, and we had a love seat and it was carpeted. We had video
It was
games.
cool.
It was super cool. Um,
Nice.
it 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 felt like, and I was 18, mind you, so that it's a lot. Your energy is better.
For
You don't
sure.
need as
Right,
much
right.
sleep.
Yes.
We were hanging on by like summer camp vibes. I mean, it was nobody. There was no one to tell us what to do. We weren't. There was really no authority figure. My brother Jimmy was on the road with us, and if I think back, he was 24 years old. Like he's 24 years old, and he's the responsible one. Um,
Just were you guys just like drinking Mountain Dews and fucking
I'm
eating
sure
like
there was
Cheetos all
a lot
day,
of
or
Red Bulls and stuff.
were you guys getting into like booze and like drugs and stuff like that, or was that even like a thought at that time?
No, we there was some weed around sometimes.
Yeah, but it was
Um, and then there were probably some nights where we had. I remember. I remember, and I don't want to incriminate anyone who's not me. But there was a member of the band who was a big metalhead, and we were in Fort Worth the night Dimebag Darrell was shot. So Dimebag was
whoa,
he's from Pantera, the band Pantera, and they're from Dallas, Fort Worth area, I believe. And they were him and his brother started another band, and they were playing a show as that band at some venue in Fort Worth, and we weren't there. We were just in the town. And Bubba, sorry, my dog's
that's okay.
the side door's open for the lighting. Turner, lay down, buddy. We were in town, and he was shot. We found out the next day, so we went and got he used to drink with Jack Daniels and smoke a bunch of weed. So our one of the band members at the time, like I think chugged a bottle of Jack and smoked a bunch of weed, and I think we played that night, if I
Nice.
can recall. Um, but no, we weren't into we weren't into hard
Yeah,
drugs. I've never been into hard drugs. There
yeah.
was probably a weed phase, yeah,
Hmm.
and then
That's awesome. I
for
mean, you
nights. I
dodged a
remember
bullet for sure.
some of my favorite memories. I think on that tour specifically, or just being with that group, is Jimmy. There was a couple times where he would go and buy like a 12 pack, and at that age, 2, 3 beers, we'd have 2, 3 beers and then just skateboard around at night, whatever town we were
Yeah,
in, or go to
yeah,
the
yeah.
skate park when no one was in it, and you just yeah. Again, I give it
Good
like the
old
summer.
wholesome fun, dude.
Yeah, I give it like the summer camp tag. So it never felt. I think I turned 18 at one point. I did call my mom. I was kind of sad. We were in Bakersfield, which probably explains why I was kind of sad
Right.
because it's
Yeah.
Bakersfield. No, sorry, Bakersfield. Just
Shout
missing
out to
my family on
Bakersfield.
my birthday. That was maybe the hardest moment. I remember that, and that wasn't
Yeah.
even that far into. That wasn't that far in the tour. My birthday's September 24th, so we'd probably only been gone a month at that point, maybe not even. But other than
When did
that,
it go? When did it go from kind of like that summer camp vibe to being something that felt more kind of like this is serious? We got like this kind of like necessary now. This is our real jobs. This is like yes, it's fun. We love music. We love playing. We're privileged to do this, but like did it? Did that
prob-
transition come?
probably not till the High Pilots.
Uh huh.
And I
What
think
did
part
that
of
look
that
like,
is
and why did that happen?
I think it's the experience that I'd had with Holden.
Mm,
Um, we had showcases. Holden had showcases for major labels. I think virtually everyone under the sun in LA came to see us either at a show or in private. We did a few private showcases, and we took those seriously. It was what's our tightest set? What's going to get the crowd going? Let's come up with little interludes, and that was work. It wasn't just like it was fun. Let's go out there and have fun. But there were certain moments where it was like, hey, okay, Island Records is coming or Virgin or whatever. Like, let's fuck this set up. Let's make this set so fucking good.
mm-hmm.
Um, so there were those moments where it was, take it seriously enough to make a good product, put something good on stage. But I don't think the real, other than Jimmy's way of operating, um, I don't think it really kicked in until the High Pilots. As far as um, or we did it as Holden and just didn't realize we were doing it. Building,
Yeah, just too
building,
like
building.
ignorant, naive.
Go out and tell people about you. Tell people about your music. Tell them where they
Yeah.
can find you. I think the difference with the High Pilots is Instagram was now readily available. Music was streaming everywhere. Um, and early High Pilots, we were walking through malls, slanging CDs. We took a lot of that from the Holden mentality. And when Matt joined the band from Ludo and we started working with Tim Convey, their keyboardist, and he had started a record label, an indie label in St. Louis. He came on and managed us for about 4 years, and it wasn't like, oh well, let's take this more seriously now, but it was Ludo had been signed to a major deal. Ludo had seen some success. We know some like there's some other things we can try. We don't want the like nobody wants the high pilots to be Ludo. We're not. Andrew and I are very different songwriters. We're very different people. But
Right.
here's some like maybe little tidbits we can use. Let us bring the information we used to get signed to you guys. It was really great. It was stressful. I think maybe there, we're also not 18, right? We're now getting to 24, 25, 26. People are
Yeah.
questioning what they're doing with their lives.
Yeah.
I'm not making money. We're going out
Right.
for a few months. We're coming home, and then
You're
we're out.
eating fucking peanut butter without jelly sandwiches because you
Yeah,
can't afford the jelly.
just peanut butter with a plastic spoon that you stole from the Holiday Inn.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
here's a good tour trick while I'm thinking about it. And I think about it today. I'll get back to the tour trick. The way we toured, right, starting in 2002, whatever it was. I picture, I would love to imagine there's young kids out there starting punk bands or starting rock bands or whatever with their instruments and drum kits and getting in a van and driving around for months. I don't know how a teenager would do that today. I don't know what venues pay unknown bands. Probably some portion of ticket sales or something, but like gas prices are so high. Everything's, I feel for, it was such a different story 20 years ago when we were doing that DIY stuff. But for those people doing it, here's the tour hack. If you're driving all night and you want to save money, save your per diem, go to a Holiday Inn Express, park somewhere, have one guy go in like he's on his phone, like he's going back to his room. So we're talking 6 a.m., 7 a.m. Open the back door for everyone. Everyone eats the Holiday Inn Express breakfast for free. No questions
Nice,
asked.
dude.
We did that at
Continental.
lunch. Yeah, continental breakfast.
Damn, dude.
No questions asked.
And just pocketing all the fucking
Yeah,
scones
walk
and
out the back with plates of biscuits
bran
and
muffins.
bran muffins and bananas and oatmeal. Yeah, that was a good tour hack.
Damn, dude.
There's a
Yeah.
lot of things you figure out. You're like, oh, why haven't we done this before? Could save our per diem every day. Holden had a pretty bad. We did a pretty bad one. At one point, they literally stopped. I may have just told this on the last podcast I was on, but whatever. There were these like Subway sandwich cards, and if you bought eight sandwiches or 10, whatever it was, the stickers, you'd put them on the card, and you'd go in and get a free sandwich. So we'd go to Subway all the time because you get a $5 footlong, and there was a roll of these things sitting out, and we took the roll of stamps. Someone grabbed it. We brought it in the van, and then we were at another Subway, and there was a different color roll of stamps, and someone grabbed those. So we tore them all up, put them in a bucket, and we went for weeks on end, free Subway sandwiches. We go to a different Subway if we were in a different town every day, right?
Mm.
So within about 3, 4, whatever it was, 4 weeks, 2 months, whatever it was, Subway stopped doing that program because they caught on that like
You
someone was
guys
going around and had taken these things. That was a bad, we're teenagers. That was stealing, but
No, it wasn't,
I
dude. You
maybe
guys were
we're
just
past the
eating.
point of where I can, where I can get
Yeah.
arrested.
The
Where I can get
statutes
arrested.
of limitations have passed, dude. You're free.
Past, yeah.
They don't mind. They're doing just fine.
Yeah. So,
That's crazy, man.
but yeah, as
Yeah.
far as like the more, maybe there was the work ethic was maybe just different. I mean, it was still writing, recording, record, tour. I don't know. We met Alan, 2010 or 11. I wasn't in town. Alan played this little coffee shop. It was called Muddy Waters, like 40 people. I don't even think, and I think it held 40 people, and
Right.
12 were there to see him. Like no one knew who he was yet.
Yeah.
And Mikey and Pimo went, and we had just submitted for one of his tours or something. So they were like, let's go meet him in person and just say what's up. And he was like, oh,
It
I saw you
submitted for one of his tours back then.
back then. Yeah.
What was
Someone
he
knew
doing?
him, or our manager knew BJ, his old manager or something,
Yeah.
and knew he was going out. And so Mikey and Pimo went and said what's up to him over called Tommy and the High Pilots. He goes, my old girlfriend and I saw you guys play in Seattle. I have one of your CDs.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'll call my booking agent tomorrow and tell him to put you guys on the tour. And
Sweet.
the tour was a month out, 2 months out, whatever it was, whatever happened in that 2-month period. I think he did Conan during that tour. I think the live from his mother's basement thing happened right before that tour. So it's going from like 400 or 500 people, 600 people that was a really cool thing to see, because then we met Alan, we met Laura, we met that whole crew, and then you kind of watched it blow up, right? And then the next tour we did with them a couple years later, it's all big theaters,
Yeah,
and yeah, so yeah, you meet all these people along the way that just become part of your life, and I mean, nothing else. I've always told my wife, like, there's a book at the end of this. There's so many stories, starting
absolutely,
at
man.
16
Well,
to now. And
it doesn't sound like it really like ends either. It kind of
yeah,
keeps going. Like, you're not stopping. You've never
yeah,
stopped. You've
yeah.
always just continued to move through it. Like you've been married through it. You've had children through this. You've
Mhm.
moved. You've like you've lived your life through this whole entire like pursuit of yours. And somehow you've managed to like stay on your feet through it all. And yeah, like, maybe at times you were, you know, doing it more consistently than other periods of your life, but
Mhm.
maybe now you get more intentional about how you do it and a little bit smarter about how you do it, because like that's the coolest thing about your story, and like the bands that you guys all played in and all the people that were part of those bands is just like the grind the grind that just like never ended. And it was just a part, like a part of the like the knowledge of what was needed to happen in order to move forward. There was
Yeah,
no real like other options. It's like this is just what we have to do. And
yeah.
I'm sure like did you ever did you guys like argue over like, oh, I don't want to go do any more of these malls anymore. I don't want to do any more of these like country fairs. I want to go like how do you even transition like when you don't have a base? Like what do you do when that's the trajectory? Where do you go?
There was a point during the High Pilots time when we went and did this thing called NACA. NACA
Hmm.
it's basically like a showcase for
Colleges.
colleges. So there's all these colleges, and there's like stand-up comedians. You basically get like a 10-minute window, thousands of college students from all over. If they like your band, they book you. Colleges pay pretty well. You get to sell merch. So you go and do these showcases. So we did a few of those and got a bunch of college gigs out of it, like Nebraska, wherever we were, all over the country. We got college gigs, and again, those are helping fund things. They're funding things that we're doing because they're good, decent paydays. Nice shot in the arm at the time, but it had come to a point where we were all pretty wiped out, I think. And there were 3 dates. I think it was 3 dates on the East Coast, and the money was like okay. And you're never doing it for the money. If we had been
Hmm.
on the East Coast, we would have taken those shows, but we didn't want to
Yeah.
do that. We were in LA. We're like,
Yeah.
we're not going to drive across the country to not open. If it's Alan's tour or the Plain White Tees tour, we'll start a tour on the East Coast. We're used to that. We'll start a tour in the middle of the country. We're used to that. We're not going to drive out to these 3 gigs, right, in a 4-day span.
Just
It's a
break
40.
even.
If you drive straight, with a van and trailer, it's taking you 40, 50 hours to get across the country. Um, and our uh, manager at the time was not happy about that, and rightfully so. I mean, he'd probably, he had some money in us as well invested, and um, but that was us saying we're not. It's too much to go do that for this. It's not worth it. It's not worth it to us. It's our mental health, whatever it was at the time. There's more important shit we could be doing at home right now than driving across the country for 5 grand, 6 grand, seven, whatever it was. Um, that wasn't as much a battle with the band as it was with us and then our manager at the time.
Hmm.
Internal stuff was more, Michael and I are brothers, and I feel like the brother stuff comes up sometimes, and you're not really arguing as band members, you're arguing as brothers,
Yeah.
which is natural. And, to our credit, or to Michael's credit, like, that never ended the band or anything. We're brothers, so you kind of get over it maybe a little quicker.
Right.
Um, yeah, you're always going to have internal fights and struggles, and or with each other rather, internally in the band. You just, I think if like anything, you're open and you communicate. That's probably part of the thing with Holden. We were too young, right, to communicate effectively, and
Right.
too immature to talk about our feelings or whatever it is. Little group therapy sessions bands have, even if it's in the van or someone said something to hurt someone's feelings, someone did something on stage. I think we were more open once we got to the high pilots, those conversations were easier to have. And
Did
having
you
a
ever get tired like of doing it, or did you always just like enjoy it? Did it ever just get like did you ever think? Have you ever thought about like, nah, I don't want to do this anymore?
like do what
Music,
specifically? Just music?
like
No, I
like
always do
like like
music.
like 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 touring, like being on stage, like when you because I know that for some people, like some people that are very far and doing big shows, like they talk about touring life as like that's what you get paid for. Like you don't get paid to show up and play the set. Like the set is the easy part. Like that's what's fun. But it's
You're
logging all
getting
the
paid.
hours,
You're
putting all
getting
that
paid to
time.
cruise
Dude,
around,
it sounds yeah, man. And like I don't know,
and
did it
sleep.
ever just did I mean I know you like transitioned and like ended some bands here and there and but like what I guess the question is like where was like the hardest phase of your like musical journey and like what was happening during that time and how did you kind of like get out of that space for yourself?
Hmm. I think your first question, when I think about like not doing things, I think what I would not do is maybe drive, you know, to some little town where no one knows who I am and spend 20 hours in the car to go play an acoustic set there. When or a full band set or whatever it is. Um, that I wouldn't do. That takes a lot on you. That takes a lot out of you. If it was a tour routing, it was something on the way and we're cruising around, I would do that. But
But
there
you
was
guys
a
were like
point.
zigzagging. Like it's
Yeah, I
not
mean,
easy.
if it's just on a route and we're playing every night and we're not driving that far every day,
Mm-hmm.
um, I mean, I would still tour, yes, but it would have to be meaningful.
Sensible. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't want to. I don't necessarily want to do what Holden or the High Pilots did, which is like start, just get in the van, drive around for the next 5, 10 years. I couldn't do that right now if I wanted to.
Right. Yeah, you just have
If there
different
was,
priorities at this point.
what's that?
You just have different priorities and obligations at this point in your life. You just couldn't actually do that if you wanted to.
Yeah, and I've been offered like there's this musician in Germany. My buddy and I have flown out and filled in for him, and that's fun. Get to go to Germany for a week.
Cool.
Get paid, get put up, get to play bass, play a couple fun shows. Like that stuff's awesome. For me, obviously, at the end of the day, I would still love my music to accomplish what I've always wanted it to, which is just my only, the only thing I have to do. To provide for my family, do what I love. That's a tough task. It sounds so simple, and it's what so many people want, right? I want to do what I love, and that's how I want to make my money.
Yeah.
Um, and have tried and tried and tried for so long to be the only source of income, right? I mean, there's still um, things now, here in, every now and then where it's a nice little payday for something, and I got to play music, and um, but as far as so, what was the next part? What was the hardest moment?
Yeah. What was the hardest period, like phase, and how did you kind of like overcome that era of your life? Like, what did it take to get out of that, or is it still taking some work?
Hmm. Always work. There's always work, but if I look back on the musical part of my journey, if I had to like put that tag on something, I would say Holden breaking up, my first band breaking up.
Early.
Early, yeah. Well, because at that point I'm 20 years old. I put 5 years of my life into this. That's a quarter of my life, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was all I wanted. And you can't make other people want the same things you do, or you can't make them want them the same way that you do. And that's what happened with that. So what saved me was that, or not saved me to sound so dramatic, but going to New York, taking in that whole new world, not really thinking about music in the way I had been the previous 5 years. I mean, I always had my guitar with me. I was always writing songs, but probably pulled me out of that slump I would have been in had I just been sitting at home in Santa Barbara being depressed about the fact that my band broke up.
Yeah.
Um, so that was a big boost, getting this whole new world, thrown into this whole new world. um, rebuilt me, gave me a different part of my personality,
Yeah,
brought me a little more
it seems like
confidence.
yeah, it seems like it gave you a really good uh, kind of mindset for how to manage your expectations moving forward too. You know,
Yeah.
as you continued. You know, I met you kind of early on in those days when you first met Alan. Like obviously, like much later on in your like musical journey, but and I've known you for I don't know over a decade at this point now. Like here
Hmm.
and there throughout this these periods of getting to spend time with you, and you've always seemed like a person who has like gratitude at the forefront and just like joy and love. And I've always really like kind of envied people that have that. And my first response is like, this fucking guy doesn't, who the fuck is he? You know,
Oh,
like,
there's
I,
plenty of fucked up shit about me too. I promise.
of course, I'm sure, of course, but like,
There's
but
moments. I've had my moments.
right. But
Yeah.
despite that stuff, like, you know, you still have managed to keep a really solid base of like what matters to you about this music and this life and like
Mm.
those two things kind of coexisting with you
Yeah.
throughout the whole entire thing.
Yeah.
Um, and it's really admirable.
Thanks.
And
Thanks,
you
man.
continue to do it, of course, man. And like you're also just really fucking good. Like I listened to you guys play back when you were in your High Pilots days, and it's like fucking what's up, dude? These fucking guys kick ass. You know, it was
Yeah,
so rad.
what do they got to do to kick down the door?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like that's the hardest thing, man, because it's just like, you know, and I'm sure you felt this before where you go and you support your friends because they're your friends and you're like, yeah, these are my friends. They're my friends. They're in a band and like, yeah, it's probably not going to be that good, but you know, like
Yeah.
we're gonna go and support them anyways because they need fans. We need to put
Buy
butts in
three
the
tickets
seats.
for them and show up at the concert.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
But you know when you start to like accumulate a community of people who you actually support because you actually support them and you actually like what they do, it's really cool. And it kind of like transitions from being like, oh, I'm just here because I'm supporting you to being like, I'm just here because I'm actually just because I want to be here.
I want to hear the
And this is
tunes.
really cool.
Yeah.
And what's crazy though is that just like you can't quantify what works and what doesn't work. Because like why didn't Tommy and the High Pilots have the same trajectory that Teddy Swims had?
Mhm.
What's the difference? Like
Yeah.
there sure many differences, but like as far as talent, as far as like ability, as far as like personality, humility, gratitude, like perseverance, drive, tenacity, like those things all exist. And like it's just like what is that thing that
Yeah.
like separates other people from doing it? It's just like it's luck for sure.
Yeah. There's luck involved. Absolutely. Right place, right time. Um, maybe I don't even want to say frustrating, but you know, talent is one thing, or being good at something is one thing, especially in the arts, right? You're a great actor, you're a great writer, you're a great singer. There's a ton of people out there that do that. Then you put in the hard work and you work harder than everyone else, and you're
Mm-hmm.
still not guaranteed a spot. Um, if whatever that spot is to you, right? Whatever that means, whatever that definition is. Um, so I guess at certain times it was probably maybe like hitting my head against the wall. Like, what do we have to do?
Yeah.
This song's great. We're great live. We're busting our ass. I've done this now for 10 years, 12 years. When do you become the fucking thing, the shit, right?
Mm.
Cover Rolling Stone or hit song or whatever that means. You
Yeah.
know, I don't dwell on that, but I'm sure there was a time in my life where that was, a point of frustration is what do we have to do? What
I
did
mean,
this
look, dude,
person
I'm
at
like,
the label not see? What did they not see last night at our concert? Like, but
for sure.
the positive side of me, the glass half full side of me is like, well, they didn't like the fucking Stones either. They didn't like the Talking Heads when they first saw them. They didn't understand it. They didn't get it. I'm like, oh, they just don't get it. Someone will get this at some point. And to the people's credit that always came to shows and bought our music, like they got it,
Yeah.
and they're the coolest. And
And they're the
um,
people that have been like blasting this new EP for you guys and like
Yeah, yeah,
hitting
yeah.
you guys up and commenting on all your stuff and being like, "Oh my God, you're back!"
Seeing all the people comment about the show we're doing in St. Louis, the Ludo show, and for Halloween. Um,
Hallelujah.
Halloween is what they call it. But yeah, like to see all the people that are so like, oh my god, because as the High Pilots, it's been 10 years. We haven't played a show as the High Pilots with this lineup in 10 years. Me, Steve, Mikey, and Pimo.
Dude, it's gonna be
Um,
so fucking sick.
yeah, it's gonna be awesome. It's like a big packed theater. The people there, because they're Ludo fans, and Ludo brought us under their wing. They know our songs. My dad, everyone's flying out. My brothers, family, Lauren's flying out with the kids. Like, have never got to see us like that. I mean, they saw us do cool shows in Santa Barbara and LA, but a big theater like this, and those
Special,
fans,
man.
yeah, yeah. So it was cool to announce that. We kept teasing it, and feel like, what are they teasing? What are they doing? Like, why do they keep posting High Pilot stuff?
You know, it's interesting, man, because you have these moments when you're like what we were just kind of talking about, where it's like this frustrating nature of like, why not me? Like, why hasn't this happened? Why can't we break? Why can't this like? Why not? Why not? Why not? Like, why? All these questions kind of pending around, like where you're at. And it's been something kind of profound about talking to people on this podcast about similar stuff in regards to like you've been there, you've had those moments. Like, why me? It is you. Like when you're on stage, when you're playing with K-Logs, dude, and you're hanging out like in fucking Santa Barbara, is that where it was? And you just
Yeah,
fucking
yeah, yeah,
riffing with Kenny Loggins and like having a blast, or like playing big shows like out in LA or wherever, or like this moment, man, that you guys are gonna have your 10-year reunion, where you're gonna like look out at a fucking packed audience and you're gonna be like, holy shit, dude, this is what it's always been about.
yeah,
This
yeah,
is like cultivating all of the love, all of the life, all of the experiences throughout the whole entire accumulation of our lives to get to this place right now. This energy, this joy that I'm experiencing, like that is it. That
yeah,
is the thing. And it's
yeah,
happened, and we've had it. And so, I think we confuse um kind of like the metric for success by like, well, it should be like these like objective things like magazine covers, or like, number one on TRL, or fucking, Billboard numbers, or these things. And yes, of course, like we're in industries where like that unfortunately does matter,
yeah,
but by no means does it discredit who you are as an artist if it's not there either,
yeah,
because there are so many talented and like incredibly well deserved artists that are out there right now that are crushing it, that nobody knows,
yeah,
that nobody has any idea about, and they're just like pounding the pavement just like you guys were all
yeah,
those years, just
yeah,
like probably driving in a shitty stinky ass van that like
yeah.
has 4 miles to the gallon, and they're spending like more money to get to the next city than they are making on
And
the
they're gonna
show
make, yeah,
and they're just like going backwards, but they're just like desperately seeking like that feeling and that craving of just like being present in that space for that time that they get to when they do it.
yeah,
And it's just like such a beautiful thing, and you've like, I hope you know that you have had it and you have done it, like you have made it, because I know even for myself, like, look, I'll be totally honest. I feel like the same way, where it's just like, dude, I've been out in New York for going on 13 years. I'm very frustrated at like where I'm currently at. This podcast is kind of um, is a result of a lot of frustrations of like where I'm at in my career. And I hate that. I hate that. Like I feel frustrated because it means that I feel like entitled to something that I don't have.
or that
It's like,
you haven't done
yeah,
something that you should
yeah,
do.
and it's just, and it like it makes me kind of like put myself in perspective and be like, dude, like you are where you are because you are where you are. Like
Yeah,
that's it. It just
yeah,
is what it is. Like it's not because I haven't worked really hard. It's not because I haven't, like done like sacrificed certain things and tried my best in certain other areas. it's just like it. This is just how it has been, how it's played out,
You're right.
and
You're right where you're supposed to be.
I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And I've also like when I really look at it and pull 10 feet back, it's like, dude, I've done really cool things, and so have you. And it's just like, oh yeah, you just got to remind yourself that, man. The older that we get, we just like forget because it's just
Yeah.
like, oh man, I gotta like figure out how to pay the bills, and my life is kind of crumbling below me, and I don't really know. I feel like I'm always trying to like reach for air, and man, like when did this happen? How did this all happen this way? It's like,
How different, right? From our early 20s to our early
dude,
30s. And then everyone I know is like, "Oh, you calm down so much more in your 40s and 50s. Like you'll calm down. Like you start to
you don't
appreciate it."
believe it either. You don't believe it. You're just like,
Yeah.
man, it's not gonna happen to
Or
me,
like
man. I'm crazy.
yeah.
It's
Anyways.
insane, man.
Yeah.
I just I'm very proud of the man that you've become, the music that you've made, the trajectory that you have continued to have, man. Like
Same. Same,
making
buddy.
that Valentine's Day. Thanks, man. That Valentine's Day special with you a few years ago was like one of the like highlights of my
That was so
life, dude. It was like so much fun learning during COVID how to make a movie. One, and like apply the skill set that I've like gone on to like put forth, but
yeah.
like do it with you and do it with Teddy and do it with Alan and like all the cool crew that we had around us, and like really get to like see you shine as a musician and as a singer, and like but also just like have a blast while doing it, and like really just be in the pocket of who we are as people. It was like, oh dude, like this is what I'm seeking. Like
Yeah.
moments like these, doing cool shit with cool people, and like laughing and having a blast.
And you can create that stuff all the time.
You
You know?
can, man.
No one can tell
And
you to not do that, and you can do it on a budget or you can do it for free, you know? Pen and a
yeah,
piece of paper and a
that's
pen
it.
and an
That's all
iPhone.
it is.
You can make a movie now, right? Or a song. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
What would you
We'd probably
what
only
would
get in
you
our own ways,
totally, man.
you know?
In closing, because I know you got to go take care of the babe, but what would you like? I know that the times have changed since you've been like a grinding, pounding the pavement touring musician, in the capacity that you were at the height of it all. But like, how would you suggest that like other young artists kind of going down the same road that you're going down would do it and like stay in it like you have been able to? Like, what would you tell them to do to just not give up when
Yeah,
it
that'd
gets
be it,
fucking
right?
hard?
It sounds because there are so many schools of thought on this, but I'll go with the Andre 3000 quote, which is if you want to make this happen, and it's a little extreme. If you want to make this happen, quit school, quit your job, tell your parents you're not going to see them for a long time, break up with your boyfriend or girlfriend, go into the cave until you have the thing, and then go out and bust your ass until someone realizes you have that thing. I'm paraphrasing, but
Yeah,
that's a little extreme, but that's how I took it, right? That's I took that to heart when I was a lot younger. Like, just do it. You just got to go, 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 go. So lucky that my Lauren and I stayed together, because that could have gone in 100 different, could have gone a very opposite direction. Because she said like, I don't have time for this. I don't want a girlfriend. I'm going to do this forever. Do this till it kills me. Um, my advice in general is probably like that. Don't give up. That's the surefire way to fail is to give up. The
right.
only 100% way to fail is to give up. And that's true. It's cliche, but it is true. Um, it's hard. You got to have a, thick skin. Um, just keep working on your craft.
Yeah,
Just do that. I work on something every day. I work on a part of a song every day just because
is that right?
it's what I like doing. I got a
Yeah,
few minutes to myself or the evening to my or the nighttime to myself or whatever. I keep working and I think I keep getting better at writing songs. Again, I don't know what it looks like releasing these songs or how I'm going to do it exactly, but those are like the basic principles. And then for all the social media stuff that these kids have at their disposal today, get good at that. I suck at that.
dude,
Kids are all over
you and me
TikTok and
both.
Instagram and all this shit. Like, there's some pretty cool artists. There's this kid Jake who had this song Golden Hour, and he's just a kid that was on TikTok. The song's awesome. He wrote it. He's the only writer on it, right? He's a real artist making music. So put your shit up on TikTok or Instagram or whatever. Like if you get one view one day, you get two the next, and so on and so forth. And that's advice to myself too. But on top of all, just stick with it. Write. You know, you have to know what a bad song is to write a good song. So just keep going. You know, that's
Yeah.
it.
Hell
That's
yeah,
all I
dude.
got. It's not poetic or
Yeah,
that's
it's
just
just
all I got.
pragmatic, man. It's
That's
just
just
like
all I
it's just
got.
yeah, that's the truth, man.
Yeah.
It's very valuable, and I appreciate you sharing it, dude.
Yeah.
Your new EP filled with all these unreleased Tommy and the High Pilots songs is out now. Wherever
Listen
you
to it.
listen
It's
to
out,
music,
baby.
dude. Listen to it, ladies and gentlemen. These guys are fucking hot commodities. Tell us when you're playing, and where. I think I honestly would kind of like go crazy to come, man. That would be really fun.
You got to come. So the pageant in St. Louis are opening for Ludo Saturday, October 26th.
Is there still tickets to come?
The thing, it goes on sale Friday. So it's what's day? It
Oh,
goes on
okay, cool.
sale on Friday, June 14th. In a couple, I don't know when you'll put this out, but the tickets will be on sale, and it will sell out. It will absolutely
Nice.
sell
What if
out.
it sells out in like 5 minutes, dude?
It might sell out in 5 minutes, but
Hell yeah, dude. I
if
so
you don't put
badly
this
hope it
podcast
does.
out until after then just make sure the people go listen to the High Pilot stuff, and then there's also more stuff we're announcing as the High Pilot. So more to
Absolutely,
come.
man. You guys got merch up on the store and stuff too?
Not yet.
Might
There
go
was we did a small limited run of merch, um, but we'll probably put some more back up. So Tommy and the High Pilots, and then Feels Like Our Year, which is my solo song. Go give that some love. It hasn't got a lot of love. I didn't push it too hard,
okay.
but
I'll put it
that's
all in the show notes too. I'll put like links and all that stuff
yeah.
to the
Awesome,
songs
awesome, buddy.
in the playlists. Love you, Tommy.
Love you, buddy.
You're such a gem of a human, man. I'm sorry we haven't gotten a chance to spend more
You are.
time with each other, dude. But
Yeah, we will.
we will.
Yeah,
I know we will.
yeah,
I'm gonna try my best to make it out to this show and just go fucking nuts,
yeah.
dude.
You should come. We'll figure it out.
Seeing Stevie Baby on stage 10 years later is
His
like
dad
nuts,
and my dad are going to be locked
dude.
arm in arm, crying.
Crying hard.
100%. 100%.
I want to be a sandwich between them, dude.
You
Just
should be.
like
They'd love it. Oh, dude.
just letting them
And they're
sweat
the
on me,
two of the oldest
licking
guys
their
there. There'd be
ears.
the two of the drunkest guys there. Rightfully
I
so.
might, I might fall off the wagon for those guys, dude, for that show.
Why not?
Why not?
All right, buddy. Love
All
you,
right,
man.
brother. Thank you so much, man. Love you too. Thanks for being on the pod,
Let,
man.
let me know when it's out and I'll post it and all
I
that.
will.
Okay,
I
dude.
will.
All right.
All right, brother. Peace. All right. Wow. What a guy. Man, I love Tommy Cantillon. What a G. It's a real testament to just grinding it out at all costs. You know, you can't give up. It's the only way that you lose or quit or fail is if you stop doing it. Um, I think Tommy is a perfect example of somebody who hasn't done that and who has all the talent in the world. He should be a gigantic star, but he's not. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in the same position, you know, and it doesn't discredit who he is, his ability, uh, his his future. Maybe gigantic things will happen for him. I have faith. I would not be surprised if we saw him on the cover of a Rolling Stone magazine somewhere down the road. He is incredibly gifted, and I implore everybody who just listened to this episode to go and tune in to his music wherever you get it. You know, all the streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple Music, yada yada. I'll post the stuff in the show notes down at the bottom here of this episode, and you can check it out yourself. But please do. And yeah, if you're in town, go check him out because he's really something special. Guys, thanks for being here. I really appreciate you. Make sure to subscribe to the video, follow this on the platform you're listening to it on, write a review if you have time. Uh, Share it with your friends, share it with your family. If you have artist friends that you are thinking might dig this show, send it on down their way. I would be forever grateful. And yeah, just love you guys. Make sure you go check out my Patreon page. I'm gonna start putting some new stuff up on there very soon here. It's at patreon.com/the precipice of delusion. It's what kind of helps this podcast keep moving. So speaking of moving, I'm moving and need all the help I can get because I'm going to try to build out the studio and make it really nice and really pretty for you guys, and try to update my audio software and equipment and gear. So yeah, whatever you are willing to contribute is going to go to helping this pod, baby. Thanks again for being here, guys. I love you very much. Until next week, I will see you then. Bye bye. Now that's what I'm talking about.